Oh man, it is Comedic New Year time, Comedic New Year time, Comedic New Year time. Tonight, we have Brother Kwesi Low and we have Sister Zuri Blair, and they will be presenting and discussing what's going on with them during this new Comedic New Year. Hopefully, stimulating some thoughts and stimulating some questions. So, without any further ado, I want to introduce a young man that I met maybe about 10 years ago who started coming around volunteering and working with us. And he became part of the Gye-Nyame tribe, Gye-Nyame family, and has been part ever since. And he's politically active. He's been involved with the stuff that you hear about going on downtown, the rebellion and stuff like that. He's a thinker, and I consider him a good friend and a brother. Without any further ado, I want to introduce the world to, well, actually, the world already know him. So I want to introduce uh, the family to Brother Kwesi Low.
Peace.
You
Thank
looking
you.
good there, brother. You got on that Gye-Nyame shirt. I see you rapping, man.
Gotta let them know who I'm with.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna step off the screen and we just gonna let you go. You ready?
I was born ready.
All right, let's get it.
First, thank you, Hatem. Shout out to the Gye-Nyame tribe, Gye-Nyame Nation, all the family, everybody that's been supporting this movement, everybody in Columbus that's been downtown, fighting, screaming, saying their piece, screaming, speaking the power, and doing so in a way that not only in Columbus but across the nation, we saw how people speaking up and voicing what they're seeing and voicing their concerns, and in many different ways, how that can impact social change. And in so many ways, I'm realizing that this moment in time in history is kind of what I was born for. And I've been thinking about, I was offered the opportunity to speak and share my piece with you all. Big brother Kwame initially came to me with the idea, and I jumped on the opportunity because what are we doing if we're not sharing our experiences and amplifying the experiences of each other? So thank you for giving me this opportunity. So what and I was really just kind of scrambling, thinking about what it was that I ultimately wanted to say, because there's so much to say in this moment, and I could talk forever because my whole life has been it kind of culminates in this moment. So just even thinking about where to start and where to talk about how I ended up where I'm at and why I'm talking to you today, I realized that I kind of had to go all the way back in my own life, and just talk about my journey with school and how I actually bounced around a lot. Single mom, went to 10 different schools from the time I was in kindergarten to 11th grade. Actually ended up being a dropout. I dropped out. I'm careful to frame myself as a dropout because we speak power, we speak life into how we speak about ourselves. So I was somebody who dropped out of high school, and that moment in my life was a tough time, and it made me realize that not only was I not really being fed with what I need while I was in school, but I also had a real passion to learn. And I was a very curious, inquisitive person that I had always been. Some of my earliest troubles in school was for me being outspoken. I remember kindergarten and first grade being that person that would challenge a teacher and I would have my desk sat in the corner. And I'm going to speak my truth, people. You know what I mean? I was diagnosed with ADHD at an early age, I think as early as first grade, and I was prescribed Ritalin, and that had a pretty dramatic impact on me. Not only was I like sedated, they wanted me to shut up, and that shut me up real quick, and but it also made me feel like ostracized when I had already noticed at a young age that I was a little bit different, and I was speaking about stuff that mattered to me and mattered to everybody, but I was noticing that people didn't necessarily want to hear it. And even in my own peer groups, a lot of times, people didn't necessarily want to hear that. And, so I pushed forward, went to school, got a degree and then all that. But, that's really neither here nor there. What that whole experience kind of showed me was that I had something to say. And fast forward to today, we see that urgency, that calling out power, that's kind of the conversation of the day. It's on everybody's tongue is thinking about power. And, you know, humbly, you know, I recognized that I was kind of born into this struggle. You know, my father at a young age, he was in the military. He was in Germany. He would write me a lot of times and, you know, just tell me about what it was like. So not only did I get a world view from his perspective and, you know, having a father that was overseas and seeing Germany, seeing a whole other perspective and being in the military, you know, gave him that discipline and just that whole thing. Rest in peace, Pops. You know, he actually passed October 20th last year. And, you know, so thinking about how when I was in maybe fifth grade, he came home and he put a Malcolm X, a hat on my head that had the X. I assume it was Malcolm X, but it was X Clan. It was the whole just X, you know, just that mentality of fight the power. And that was something that was placed on me at a young age. And it was something that I just ran with. And, you know, I grew up, like I said, man, bouncing around a lot of different neighborhoods. I lived way up north for all my Columbus cats. I know, you know, I lived I was originally, my first neighborhood was Somerset, a community, a real life community, you know, homes. And everybody on my street knew who I was. And I could be out until the street lights came on or whatever. And I was looked after, you know. And then from there, we moved to the Mount Vernon community, and that was a whole next level culture shock. Like I moved in with my dad, and I got the opportunity to see another type of community, a community like a self-sustaining community. Like in Somerset, I could go to Josh's. If y'all remember Josh's back in the day, you could walk to the corner store. But on Mount Vernon, I could walk over to Mount Vernon Plaza and go to Lee's and buy some clothes, you know. And so that just kind of elevated that really gave me a whole sense of Black pride that I didn't even have access to as you know, growing up in a kind of secluded neighborhood like Somerset. So that just set me on a path even more to questioning my reality and just seeing different things. And, you know, I'm not going to tell you every little place I moved, but I also ended up living on the hilltop on the west side of Columbus. And anybody that lived out there know that place is kind of just a whole world on its own. And it's got a lot of guys out there that place, again, if you ain't been out there, then I can't necessarily describe it to you, but they get money and it's a whole underground economy out there. I know everybody know about that, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but I wasn't in that lane. I didn't have that skill set, so to speak, at that time in my life, you know, 16, 17, but it was some guys that I was around that was heavily involved in that life. So what that did was give me the freedom to, if the police wanted to pull up on us and taking pictures and asking questions, I was that guy that would go out and speak on behalf of my guys and say, why y'all messing with us? Why y'all harassing us? And I was pretty aggressive with it at times because I didn't have nothing to lose. You know, I didn't have anything to lose, but I didn't have any reason that I would fear losing my freedom because I wasn't doing anything that would cost me my freedom. So I used that opportunity to call them out, to call out power, to call out the police. But even then, you know, it was like I was by myself with that in a sense. So like Hatem mentioned, a little over 10 years ago, a friend of mine told me about a poetry spot, New Harvest Cafe. And when I went there, that's when I met Hatem and I found this world of poetry, and it genuinely changed my life. I got the opportunity to go mentor young people, and then that turned into an opportunity to actually go out in the community and knock on doors and meet with people in the community and find out what they were doing. And then that gave me all kind of opportunities to organize, and this organizing thing that I had no idea even existed until then. I started working for an organization called the League of Young Voters, and that just kind of elevated my understanding. It connected me to a national network. I got the opportunity to sit and listen to Elder Harry Belafonte, myself and Hatem and some other people, Madonna, Barb, Devin, you know, some people that's in this circle, in this community. We got an opportunity to sit and get a personal lecture from the Elder Harry Belafonte, Mr. B, affectionately. And he connected us to the movement, to the Martin Luther Kings, to the people that have been doing that freedom fighting that we so admire in that 60s, that era that we all look to as a moment where, if you really think about it, you recognize that the world looked to Black people as the moral compass of humanity, that we were calling out the atrocities in a peaceful way, and, you know, suffering upon suffering, and doing so in a way that, you know, at that point in time, we didn't have the same recourse or the same mentality to be able to call out power and to be able to speak in the way that a lot of people, a lot of young people are really just down to fight now. So with that, you know, now we're looking at this, a lot of people are calling this the second civil rights movement. And the way that I found myself in the middle of that was just, again, this constant trend towards being at the pulse in the center of this movement. I got the opportunity to be on the campaign for Morgan Harper, who was challenging Joyce Beatty for Congress. And we had a really solid team, one of the most amazing experiences I ever had, being on a team of people that really were supportive of each other. And unfortunately, our campaign was derailed by the coronavirus, and just like so many other things that we're all experiencing right now, we're not living the life that we want to live. That moment was really derailed by this pandemic. So unfortunately, we weren't able to win that race and get somebody that I trust and somebody that is very knowledgeable into that seat, that also has the good of the people at heart. You know, again, we didn't get the opportunity to get her into Congress, but after that campaign ended, you know, we kept going. We started doing different volunteer opportunities, and as you all know, not long after, well, April 28th was when the election was actually decided. It was supposed to be March 17th, as you all probably recall. April 28th is when the election was called, and not too long after that, May 27th, we started to see this global uprising. What was really interesting about that for me was that just the day before, I was with a friend of mine, Kevin Zamora, an attorney who hasn't even been barred for a year. Maybe just he's right at that year mark. We decided to do a protest on May 16th, May 26th. And that protest was calling out and bringing light to the fact that there's people who are locked up in jail, particularly immigrants, who don't have representation, who aren't supported, who don't really have a voice, and their suffering is going largely unheard. So we had a pretty modest protest Wednesday, May 26th, downtown. There was probably 50 people that came. And I remember talking to Kevin, we both agreed that we would have loved to have had more people at that protest that we did, and really make more noise about the cause that we were advocating for. And it was ironic that the very next day, we saw hundreds of people in the streets in that very same location. So again, man, I say all of that to kind of demonstrate how I'm seeing in my own life how there's something that's pushing me towards this very moment. And I've been able to acquire friends and people like Hatem, who I don't even consider a friend anymore. That's my family. That's my brother. You know, that's my mentor, and brother Kwame, and so many other people in the tribe. You know, Sister Tracy, brother Malik, Dalen. So many of the young men that I was mentoring at the beginning, that were about 13, 14 years old, that are now grown men, that are now like warriors. And, you know, we've been preparing for this for a long time. And I think that if we all look at our lives and start to look at the experiences that we've had, we'll start to see that we've been being prepared for this in our own way. And everybody has something unique to bring to the table. And what I have had the opportunity, and sometimes the undesirable position of being in a position to work interact with elected officials and people that are in these offices that oftentimes aren't doing what we need them to do, that neglect us, that are now aware of the fact that we out here and that we ain't going nowhere, and that we have, I'm looking for the word, because we have the momentum and we have the numbers, but now it's the next phase. I've been to the protest. I was at the protest the first couple of days, and I'm gonna just say that it's still, it troubles me. I'm like honestly traumatized from seeing police just beat people. I was there actually in the moment that I was there in Broad and High at the moment when the protests went from people standing out, calling out power, calling out to police and speaking, just amplifying their voices. And I saw a police officer punch a guy in the face, and then that guy retaliated, and then they started macing people, and then all hell broke loose. And for the next couple of days, we started seeing escalation of the police, and we started seeing escalation in the police violence. And everybody has to remember the initial ask was, or not ask, the initial demand that brought people out there was the fact that we're tired of the not only the violence that we are exposed to by the police, but the fact that when those police, they're not even charged. I was going to say they go to trial, or they're not even charged. The majority of the time, they're not even charged. And then a lot of times, we hear people talking about the things that are going on in our community, and people often talk about, how, you hear the naysayers say, I'm not even going to use the term. They'll talk about, what term I'm talking about, a certain brand of crime that I'm not going to even mention. I'm going to just talk about the fact that we have problems in our own community that stem from the very same thing. Because ultimately, one of the things that we have to do is realize that we're not talking about police violence in a bubble. We're not talking about the fact that police aren't getting charged, tried, and convicted for murder when they're murdering us. But we're talking about systemic issues. We're talking about the fact that communities aren't getting the resources that they need. Schools aren't getting the resources that they need to educate people. And then they're spending a lot of those resources. If y'all recall, they spent roughly $2 million in just a few days on overtime to pay the police to squash the uprising, or the voices of people who were demanding that we be treated fairly, and that we be seen, and that, again, that we just be treated like humans. So what I'm seeing now is concerning, but it's also inspiring that there's still a presence out there. I done lost count. Actually, so today is a Thursday, so this is probably the beginning of the 12th week of the protest. And there's still people out there, but what's happening now is it's starting to lose some of the focus. And what I'm calling for is for us to stop yelling at empty buildings. Even the fact that we were at the State House is partially missing the point of who we need to direct our focus at. Because what we're talking about here in Columbus, and what I would encourage everybody across the nation to focus on, is their local elected officials, the local power structure, and recognize that your mayor, and that your congressperson, and that your city council members, and that your prosecutor, and that your sheriff are people that you can directly affect. You can even run for these positions, and that those positions really affect us. And judges. You are infinitely more likely to go in front of a judge than you are to be directly impacted by any decision that a president makes. So while everybody's talking about this presidential race, which for me is a very stressful situation, because there really aren't any solutions. There aren't any options that serve me. I'm still figuring out what I want to do. I might just run. I don't know. Y'all gonna vote for me? What's up? I put my name on the ballot. Let's do it. but all jokes aside, going back to just the local piece, man, we can really influence these local elections. But first and foremost, if we're going to be able to influence elections, it's going to start with us being able to communicate with each other, being able to tell beautiful stories about each other. We have, and I'm careful to talk about my people in a bubble because we're a part of this American culture. And I'm a firm believer that we don't really have black culture. We have white culture for black people. And we need to rectify that. We need to start being beautiful again. If you look at a white blood cell under a microscope, what you will see is a brownish, purplish thing. And what that means is we've been taught this narrative that, okay, so just real quick, if you're not familiar with how the immune system in your body works, white blood cells attack foreign agents in your body, and they break them down and they isolate them so they can be neutralized so that your body can continue to exist in a healthy state. So when I'm reckoning it, don't take my word for it, Google it. What color is a white blood cell? So then when we think about how light works, when we think about how life works, we recognize that plants grow from light, and plants tend to be darker. They absorb light and they turn it into something. And plants is, what is it called? The process is called photosynthesis, I believe. I'm not a scientist, but it creates this, I can't think of what it's called, but we have that same process going on in us. And darker things absorb more light, and light is information. So we need to view ourselves as healers. And this is my theory, this is my theory. Don't quote me on it and don't take it to the bank. Do your own research, and let's start the research. But think of yourself as a defender of your own land. And then think about what this power structure that exists that we're fighting, think about what they're doing to the planet. You know what I mean? The planet is a living body. It's something that's alive, and it's a life force that we depend on. So when we start to reconnect ourselves to the planet and understand that we are the defenders of this planet, then we can start really taking on this narrative in a new way, and to start to recognize that it's our duty to protect each other, to be healthy, and to have healthy lifestyles. And it can just start with small things, like anytime you're eating your little candy, or you go to the corner store and you open up your wrapper and then you throw that on the ground, start to question yourself. Why are you just okay doing that? Because this is what you see. And if you're not leaving the place that you exist and see every day in a beautiful state, then you're not allowing the maximum amount of beauty into your life. And we need to start saying words like beauty and recognizing beauty and pointing it out, because again, I'm not going to talk about my people. I'm going to talk about this culture in general. This culture has a tendency of pointing out all of the negative, and then the things that you focus on are the things that you amplify. And even in some of these movements in Columbus, man, I see a lot of people doing a lot of powerful work, but a lot of the times I think that it's really important to reframe how we're talking about stuff. Because if we're talking about stopping violence, and if I say stop the violence 50 times a day, then what I did was say violence 50 times a day. But if I start to say increase the peace, or love each other, or be beautiful to each other, then what I'm doing is saying love and beauty and peace 50 times a day. So I challenge everybody, myself included. If you know me, then you know that I got my ways. I'm a product of the same environment. I got a lot of this frustration. I got a lot of this anger. I got a lot of this hurt. I have so many friends that I've lost to violence over the years that was just as lost as me. And, I think it's important to talk about them, not as people that I grew up and that I was supposed to not play with, or that I should avoid, or that I got caught up in the wrong crowd, but talk about them as people that got caught up in the same set of circumstances that I got caught up in, because they didn't recognize that they were the healers of our environment. So start to think of yourself as a healer, and start to find the healer in me when you look at me, when you talk about me, when you talk about your brother, when you talk about your sister, and apologize and be vulnerable, because that's how we're going to get out of this. And let's start taking these protests to our communities in a peaceful way, because the only way that this thing is going to sustain and continue and turn into something tangible, to where we do need to get out to the ballots and influence the people who are in offices, and also be on the ballots to be the people that are in the office. But the only way that change is going to be able to take shape and actually going to happen in a way that really drives change is going to be when we make internal changes and we start to recognize ourselves for who we really are and see that beauty in each other. So, with that being said, man, I'm available. If you find me Kwesi Low on social media. Uh, I would love to be a part of any movement that you got going on. Like I mentioned, Morgan Harper, she is somebody that I continue to work with. We continue to create, to connect and create opportunities to continue to grow this narrative, because ultimately that's really what it boils down to, is the stories that we're telling about each other. Hatem is the master storyteller. He taught me about G. He told me about, how I'm a warrior, and how, at my duty as a warrior is to learn. That's my primary duty, and my primary weapon as a warrior is my mind. And everything that happens, every fight that I engage in, every battle that I engage in, ultimately starts with my mind. So my mind needs to be healthy, my body needs to be healthy, and my community will be healthy as an extension. Love each other. Holla at me. Let's do this work.
Shouts out to Crazy Low. Hey, I need you to stick around because we got Sister Zuri, and we're going to have a discussion after all of this. If you got a couple more minutes for us, you got some time?
Oh, I ain't going nowhere.
All right, cool. So, all right,
I
coming
smoke
to
my hookah.
that's your prerogative. All right, Sister Zuri, give me a couple of seconds. We need to do some commercials. What is a lion without his pride? What is a whale without his pod? What is a monkey without his troop? What is a wolf without his pack? The answer is very simple. They are the same thing that a human being is without a tribe. Pray. Oh my. I have never not wanted to sit through one of my commercials before, but that was the longest break. That was supposed to be all right. But without any further ado, I want to introduce Sister Zuri Blair. She will be joining us and to also have a share with the family at this time during the Comedic New Year. We want to thank her for coming out. So coming to the stage, if you will, give it up for Sister Zuri Blair.
You so
How you
silly.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I'm gonna get out your way. I'm gonna let you do your thing. You ready?
Okay. Well, hold on one second. We're trying to switch to the computer. Can you
Okay.
see me on the computer instead of the phone?
Well,
Hold on. Let me turn this off.
It sound like you. Are you on? It sound like you on.
Hold on,
All right, turn off the mic on one up. Turn off the mic.
hold on. Hold on.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
All right, there you
Okay.
go.
Sorry, guys. Hello, hello.
How you
I'm
doing?
good. I'm good. Hello, everyone. So I guess today my I am on self care. My talk is on self care. Sorry, guys. I'm a little nervous. I apologize. And I've been working. So all right. I don't even know where to start. I also have Mr. Blair with me. You guys see,
Hey,
he's going to co-help
peace,
me a little
peace.
bit. You know, this is my first little talk. So, well, today I was volunteered by the buoys to talk about self-care. And self-care because at one point in my life, I was in a very, very dark spot and I was extremely overweight. And I had all types of aches and pains. I was had a lot of addictions and real dark place where I didn't care about myself. I didn't like myself at all. So one day I woke up and decided to do something different. 100 pounds different, happier life, all due to self care. And that's the one thing that to me is extremely important these days, especially through this so-called pandemic. What is it? Pandemic. Because we learned that Rona picks and chooses who she chooses to jump on. And I noticed that majority of the people she jumps on sick people. And sick people come from not taking care of themselves and not indulging in self-care. Self-care is mental, self-care is health, self-care is physical, self-care is also financial, emotional. And this is just where you just don't have any care in the world when it comes to you. Um, and the one thing that I do most focus on is making myself happy. When I'm happy, everybody else is happy in my little world. And basically, in doing, you know, I learned how to get into accountability. First, I was my first accountable partner because I learned when you come to self care, it's all about you have to focus on yourself. And this is the one thing that we're taught not to. We focus on our kids, we focus on our husbands, we focus on our jobs, we focus on everything else but ourselves. And the one self that do not get any days off is the body.
That's a great question.
Your temple.
We've actually seen some things
Um,
with our students, so we would like our students to.
Did I hear somebody else talking? I'm sorry. Kind of threw me off.
Required
And focusing on the first thing I would always say when it comes to self care is it really starts with mental. Because,
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, when you got started with, on the journey, was the village involved with that, and who started you out
yes,
in the journey?
this is when I started. I got involved with the village. You guys. I met Freedom, who she was the first person to give me a veggie sandwich, and I couldn't believe it because I thought she was crazy. I was like, I'm not eating no meat. Just before I got here, I had a hamburger. But she told me to don't look at it as a veggie sandwich. Look at, what's bitter to the body, what's bitter to the tongue is good for the body. And that was a weekend retreat that we had went on when I first learned it. And I know it came from mental. It was my thinking to make me change what I was eating.
So how did you come to meet Freedom and all the brothers and sisters in the village? Like what led you up to that point?
Again, this is where I was soul searching for myself. I was really doing a lot of this. Again, I was working on self care, learning how to love myself, and at the same time understand who I was. I didn't know anything regarding history. I didn't know anything Afrocentric. All I knew was sex, drugs, and alcohol, and going to work. That's it. And that's basically that would consume my life, and it made me very dark. And one day when I woke up, I chose to do something different. Freedom came into my life. Once freedom came into my life, Rochelle was the one who introduced me to freedom, but Rochelle also introduced me to Tawi. And once I got into Tawi, I learned more about my body and how our body is our temple. And learning how to put better things in my body in order to get a better result. I used to have extreme back pain. I had, I have the bad knees. It was a lot of things that was going on within me that I didn't understand because I wasn't taking care of myself at all. And when I came into Tawi, I learned that being selfish to your body was okay. Being selfish or taking care of yourself was okay. And these are the different, this is what I got from my spiritual walk when it came to Tawi and my self-care. Learning how, I understood like everybody can't be vegan, but you can change your diet. Everybody can't be a vegetarian, but you can change your diet to make things better for you. And the more you take things out and put things in, you'll realize that you really didn't need certain things. And also removing different negativities out of your life. I stopped watching TV. Cable. I stopped watching cable. The most I do is movies or listen to music. But then I even to the point where I changed the type of music that I listen to because I also learned that it messes with your mental. And this is also part of self-care. All these different things coming into your mind. The one thing I learned when we was in Tawi, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Elder Green. I don't remember. But he asked, who are you? I'm Zuri. No, you're not Zuri. Who are you? And again, started working on my mental and learning to understand me and understand the different things that was going on with me, how I consume madness.
So food is not just what you put in your mouth.
Right.
It's also
what you hear, what you see, your surroundings, and that was the different things. I had to befriend some people. I had to quit my job. I had, again, threw a lot of food away because I noticed all these things had control me. And that's what it was. It wasn't who am I? Who controls your mind? That's what it was. Mm-hmm. And it was Elder Green who said, who controls your mind? And I learned that society that we're taught controls us. And let us see, that you got to do this, you got to do that, you have to have this, you have to have that. And once you throw all that stuff away, you really get into who you are. And like I said, the first things I was doing was removing certain things out. Then I started working more on what I was going to put into my body. Then I started getting more into what meditation, learning how to quiet my mind. Because it was so chaotic. It was just extremely chaos. I had so much crap going on inside my head and everybody telling me what to do. You don't hear yourself. So I had to stop and take time and learn who I was and being quiet. So that's how I learned, I started quieting my mind. And then I did see, maybe I do like that apple. Maybe I learned that I like spinach raw. I can eat kale raw. It was at a time where I couldn't even do that. I wouldn't even think about even not eating a piece of chicken, because I loved chicken at the time. But now I don't eat chicken because it doesn't agree with my body. That's why I took it out. And, you try to follow all these fads, when if you listen to yourself and your body, you know what to take out and what to put in. And those are the things that I learned when it came to self-care and taking care of myself. And then I also got, I met with Elder Alona, who is amazing. I'm like, at the time, she wasn't 70. I was like, she can run circles around me. And I ain't like that. Like, how could you walk more miles than me? And Natasha telling me, you can walk in the cold. And these are the things, looking at my elders showed me also that if they looked as good at 70, then dang it, I'm going to be you when I grow up. And these are all, putting different people in my life, showing me different things where I could take care of myself. And Elder Logan told me no matter what, you better at least get one massage a month. One massage a month will take care of you with your body. Then I also got into acupuncture when I wanted to heal my knee. They wanted to cut my knee open. Instead of allowing them to cut my knee open, I dropped more weight and did acupuncture and putting more healthier vegetables in my body to heal my knee. I learned that. So I really started taking measures and taking care of me. And every now and then, my kids needed something, they just had to wait for his mom. Because I focused so much on everything and everyone else, I never took care of me. Now, I'm taking more care of me. And me taking care of me, I'm able to now take care of my husband, take care of my kids, because I have a son who was diagnosed with autism and epilepsy. And I went real hard into his diet. And so far, he hasn't had any seizures, and he's in a regular school. And again, he might be a big boy, but he has a decent diet. He gets up and he moves every day. And you learn how to stop listening to excuses. Because the first thing you say, well, I can't because I have diabetes. Well, I can't because I have high blood pressure. I have diseases that I can't even name and I don't even understand. And as long as you continue to give yourself excuses, you can keep not doing it. And I learned that excuses don't do anything but continue to be excuses and just sit there. Next thing you know, you'll find out you're 300 pounds with high blood pressure, diabetes. And, those are the two that's just off the top of my head right now. But there's so many other things that you'll have due to not taking care of yourself. Not going to bed properly, because the one thing I do, I go to bed early. I'm in bed by 9. I'm sleeping before 10, but I'm also up working on my mind at 4 or 5 in the morning, removing all of yesterday and being prepared for today. And these are the things that you can do just when you start taking care of yourself. So it's just not so much eating comes in. Eating because once you clear all that junk out of your mind, and once you clear all these people, that's all I can think of right now, these different people that's in your life that's consuming so much drama and chaos, you start removing them out of your life. You open up your mind and see, maybe that burger's not good for me. Or maybe this pop, I stopped drinking pop. But you got your sister on the other hand saying, no, pop is good, drink some pop. The pop isn't good for you. I don't care how good it tastes. It's not good for you. But I also learned there's a happy medium. Because you can get too extreme with something and then you're quit. That's how you go from this, this. You play that up and down side. You can tell if you're happy in your life. You can tell if you're depressed. You can tell if you're because of you're not taking care of you walk. You missed you didn't go to bed till 2, 3 in the morning. You didn't eat something that, you ate.
You mean like at night?
Yeah.
Something that makes your heart palpitate?
Yeah, it's cookies, sweet. Because you allow so much other unnecessary things in. I know I'm kind of rambling. I'm a little nervous, so please forgive me.
Talk about this thing.
But, in my journey and my experience, I learned how to love myself. And in loving myself, I end up getting more. And I focus more on myself instead of focusing on her or he or she. And I learned how to take care of myself better. Because again, like I said, I was 298 pounds, where now I'm down to 196 or something like that. You know, my goal is to even get smaller. The more junk that I push out of my life and out of my mind, the smaller my body becomes.
So what are some of the things that you do in the morning to hold yourself accountable in terms of self-care? You know?
Well, I have learned to never jump immediately up.
Mm.
I learned to wake up, lay there for a second, give my thanks, and then I move. And then once I move, you know, in my routine, because I have such a hectic work day, I try to get in my workout. So that's either riding a bike, walking, doing a class. You know, I try to get some movement in. I want to get into at least getting a workout in at least anywhere to 4 to 5 times a week. And giving myself a break if my husband lets me on the weekend. Because, you know, somebody bought him a bike and he just went crazy. I don't know what I created about it. But, you know, it encouraged, you know, this is where, you know, I'm just not accountable for myself. He helps me be accountable. And I'm finally ready for that part. Because before, I know I needed to do it myself. I didn't need it for anybody else but myself. Because I lost so much in such a short period of time, I blamed everything else. To the reason why I wasn't happy, the reason why I was broke, the reason why I was overweight, the reason why my kid was running rapid like crazy. I blamed everything else. So once I started focusing more on myself and getting in that extra workout or getting in that walk of freshness, learning how to enjoy being outside instead of crying about bugs. And then, get more into the moment. I do my best to stay in the present. Again, working on eating better. I do slip up, which everybody do. You do slip up and it's okay. Learning how not to beat yourself up about it. Learning how to correct it when it happens. You know, these are the different things that I do to work on myself through my day. If I messed up yesterday, I'd be like, well, that was yesterday. Today's today. Because, you know, I'm a firm believer there is no tomorrow. So it's always today.
Right. So what part does balance play in your self-care journey?
I do have a happy balance because, again, I like to enjoy life. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want life to just pass me by. So I will have, you know, I don't mind every now and then I'll have a drink. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Every now and then I might eat something bad. I know it's okay. But at the same time, I will turn around and make sure I'm flushing it out with my exercise, with my infrared sauna, with flushing it with water. You know, we're on this goal trying to do a gallon of water a day, which is extremely hard for someone who doesn't do it. And you think you drink a lot of water because I don't drink anything but water, but I learned that's not true. Mm-hmm. That's not true. A gallon of water is hard, but I'm on for the challenge.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about detox?
I do detox. Right now we're in the middle of one. We're doing a 21-day detox where we're doing a cleanse to cleanse out all the parasites, all the, or, you know, cleaning all the organs. Again, like I said, every now and then you will enjoy adult beverage. And I believe it's, in my belief system, I believe it's okay. But at the same time, you need to make sure you cleanse your body and flush your body because the body still needs a happy medium. Because I believe if it's too clean, you ain't healthy. And if it's too dirty, you ain't healthy. So you have to have that happy medium.
Balance.
And right, and that's your balance. Right? Yes.
Right. Okay. So, have you ever fasted before?
Yes. I also we do water fast. The longest water fast I've done was 7 days. Got a lot of clarity. Got a lot of junk that came out, breakouts. But I know it was from detox of all the garbage that I put in.
So is that strictly water?
Yes, it was strictly water. Yes, just straight water for 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the longest. You know, I do have a goal that I want to do a longer one, but I haven't got to it. Again, it's the mental. When you're working on your mental, you know, you strengthen it. So you push yourself further.
Would you encourage people to do research on water fasting?
Yes, and that's the one thing, you know, you're taught that water fast is bad. You're starving yourself. You're starving your body. But if you actually do some research and research it, because the one thing I'm learning is everybody believes the doctor is God. The doctor is practicing. So why don't you take control of your own life and practice just like they do? They say, I'm going to give you this pill. And you take that pill, but the pill ain't working, and they turn around and give you another pill. And that's the same thing that you can do for yourself. It's okay to get the information and then research it and do different things that will work for you. Because, you know, and during my weight loss, no disrespect to anyone who had the weight loss surgery, hey, I feel like you do what you do that works for you. I didn't do the weight loss surgery. I don't do supplements. I believe that, you know, in African history, it shows that food nourishes the body. Food will heal the body. And when the food is not healing the body, you starve the body to cleanse it, to heal it. Because it's not, it's not working so hard to flush the food out, but it's doing better with healing the body. So that's where I got into water fast. Getting into water fasting. So, that's something that we dabble in a little bit more and more. So, again, you understand and learn you when it comes to self-care. Can't nobody tell you what you do. Anybody can say, I'm diagnosing you with this. And I learned this from Edith's mother. She was on stage 4 cancer. She was in hospice, and they told her she was going to die in a week. And she said, no, I'm not. I need to see my grandbaby first. By the end of that week, she got up and left out of that hospital. And she didn't die until after her grandbaby was born. So you have the power to control your life. But if someone put negative talk in your ear, you can also trick your mind to do exactly what they say. You can die fast, or you catch something else. So again, learning how to control your mind and your thinking, when you work on your body, again, you can take the information from the doctor, but at the same time, you can't tell me you're the end all be all, because the only creator is one, and you're not it. Especially when it comes to your body, and your life, and what you do. Can't nobody tell you what you do. Just like you have something like, I tried that. Well, did you? Because I can't sit with you all day and night to make sure you do right. I can just tell you something about that doesn't work. You're not doing something. So, again, learn your body. Understand that self-care comes with mental, physical, financial, what is that, emotional? Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness, let me say. Right, yeah. And, I could honestly discuss the things that I do for my self-care to make me better, because everyone has trauma in their life, and my trauma was a little deep, which took me really, really low. I lost a lot in a very short period of time, and I can just say it because I've learned how to cope with it and deal with it. But, I had a brother who committed suicide. 3 months later, I had 3 people, my mother, my grandmother, and my brother, who killed. I had a little brother also that was in jail, and I had 2 kids. And I was 23 years old. And at 28, I was 300 pounds. And by the time I was 30, I was married to a horrible man. and my life was extremely dark. And then one day, I decided to do something different. And that's the best thing to do something different.
So, when somebody says you move it out your own way, what does that mean?
Move it out your own way. Because all this garbage and self-talk that you put in, all the self-talk, all of the conversation in your head, Mr. Ego tells you different. But the real you inside, when you're ready to listen, will let you know, hey, that's not true.
So it's a battle between the ego
and the true self. It's a battle between the two. And again, who controls your mind?
So the ego is the voice that tells you not to get up in the morning and take that walk.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you know you're supposed to.
Right.
Okay.
Even though, matter of fact, I had, oh my goodness, because right now, I don't know if you guys follow me on Facebook, but right now, me and my husband's thing is, health and wellness is the new pandemic. Learn to heal you. Do your own vaccine. Do your own leader. Do your own experiment. Because just because you watch Tele-Live Vision, don't make that the be-all, end-all. And if you continue to watch it, you continue to be in fear, you continue to not be healthy, and you continue to think negative, do negative. But if once you remove that, again, ego, move it out of your way, and listen to your true self. Learn to love it. Learn to understand it. Because that's what I can tell you. The one thing is, the hardest thing for me to do, I had to really learn my body and listen to my body. We think we get a little tingle, it don't mean nothing. But next thing you know, all of a sudden, you got carpal tunnel. Like, wait a minute, I didn't get no signs. Or you get a little tingle on your toes. Next thing you know, you got diabetes. But I ain't get no signs. Then you just chose to ignore it. So once you sit and really listen and learn to love yourself, which is loving yourself, is learning to control your mind, but then you control your body, you control everything else. So less is more. Less is more. Okay. So, I think that's pretty much sums it up. Again, this is, we're on Facebook right now. That's our biggest thing is health and wellness. Get your health together. Get your health together because you have to control it. So, I think that's about all that I have. I think I rambled enough for a nice 30 minutes. You guys, unless someone has something to ask me. That's my thing.
All right, you ain't by yourself. You ain't by yourself.
Peace, my brother.
We about to. How you doing?
Right, how you doing, bro?
We about to pull. I'm doing good. We're gonna bring Brother Kwesi in, and we're gonna bring Brother Kwame in, so we can have discussion. I was doing two meetings at one time, and I didn't know. Another meeting popped up after our planning here, so I had to kind of handle that. But Brother Kwame, you in the house? All right, cool. So now check it out. So both of y'all kind of talked about loving yourself and self-care. In different contexts, because you went more into the diet and the wellness, and how important in these times, and I know it is an easy answer, but how important is it? And what are some specific methods that you can do to take care of yourself as well as take care of your community? Because Kwesi talked about love and self-care on as far as community building. You were focused a little bit more on personal health. So for each one of you, what are some things that we could add to build upon in that? So Kwesi, first you, because you was talking about the community. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that in order for
your mic off. Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I think the most important thing when we
Yeah,
talk
I can
about,
hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you. I think we got a little delay.
I
Yeah, I think
missed your question.
Somebody's mic messed up. Your mic messed up, Kwesi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
how about me?
There's a lot of static. But Kwesi, your mic dropped off.
I,
A lot of static.
static.
Maybe I got too many people in the room. Who gonna go first? I'll take people out. Let's take people out and see if we can get rid of some of this static. Hold on. All right, Brother Kwame, I'll remove you for a second. Go ahead, try it now. Who wanna go first?
I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go really quick because I have to hop on
All
another
right, Kwesi.
call. So yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I think, Leah, like I was saying, any community healing, this community healing that we are moving into has to start within, and just little everyday things. I think accountability. The first thing to any type of change is acknowledging that you have a problem, and even going back to one of the proverbs. What is it? I just drew a blank. It's you can't expect to heal. Basically, I'm just paraphrasing. You can't expect to heal unless you acknowledge that you are sick.
Right.
So one of the things that I always do that I'm almost kind of obsessed with is identifying areas that I can grow. And I love to be around people like yourself, Hatem, that are courageous enough to let me know when I need to be better. And one of the things that I think people need to learn how to do, both from the receiving and from being a provider of critique, is to recognize the difference between offering somebody healthy critique so they can be better, or just like telling somebody to do something different because you don't like how that impacts you. And just a lot of times we're just lazy. So the simple way to say it is some people are giving you advice because they want to see you be better, and some people just hating.
I agree.
All right. Now check this out. So Kwesi, now I'm gonna go to Kwesi, then because he got to get off. Kwesi, tell us a little bit more about this running for office. You mentioned people need to be running for office.
Mm-hmm.
Holla at me. What's going on with this?
I mean, there's plenty of seats. Like, where to start? Like, I think that one of the main seats that we need to just be educated about is the sheriff. The sheriff is an elected official. His name is Dallas Baldwin, and he's the person that determines the conditions in the jails. He's the person that, whether people know it or not, one of the biggest voting bases in our community that's not getting heard are people that are in jail. There are a lot of people down at the workhouse that have been charged but haven't been convicted, and they're just waiting to go to trial. They're eligible to vote. Why doesn't the jail system have an apparatus for people to be able to vote in jail? A lot of those people are going to get off, and they're not even going to be convicted, and they're going to have missed opportunity to vote, even though they would have been able to vote, given the fact that they had a charge that ultimately didn't stick. So when we think about a lot of these seats have power that we don't even recognize. And a lot of these people are getting in off the minimum votes and are running unopposed. Next time you look at your ballot, recognize how many people on there are running unopposed. You might run, you might not. So, like in this race that I was just had the privilege of being a part of, we were outraised by almost 4-1. But we still were able to raise $750,000 for a congressional race. That's kind of a drop in the bucket to where the Beatty campaign had like $3 million. They spent more money on TV ads than we spent, 3 times as much money on TV ads than we spent altogether. So you don't necessarily have to win. Just showing people that what it looks like to be on the ballot. Somebody like me, you could vote for me. You could vote for Hatem if you so choose, or just having somebody on the ballot just changes the conversation. Seeing people out in your neighborhood knocking on doors, telling you to vote for somebody that you know or that you grew up with, it just changes the conversation from being, we have to vote for these people that are power families or families that have been in. If you notice, a lot of these names, the Kevin Boyce, the Shannon Hardin, I'll say the man's name right. A lot of these people are just swirling around and running for a lot of these same offices. And the last thing I'm gonna say is we have to get out of this mentality of career politicians, because one of the things they told Morgan was that she should run for city council, and then she should run for mayor, and then she should and then work her way up to Congress. And when there's two things wrong with that. First, she has a skill set that's uniquely set for a congressional office. She has relationships in DC. She's worked in DC. She studied public policy. She has all of the credentials to be a congressperson. And also, when you're telling people to work their way up through the ranks, what you're telling people to do is be career politicians, which hasn't worked. That is literally what has got us to the place where there are people in the streets every day protesting, is because the system of career politicians isn't working, and it's a failed system.
Mm. All right, so let's bring it back to because now you said you got a call, so I'm gonna let you go and get up out. I appreciate you, Brother Kwesi, for tuning in. I mean, for coming in and sharing with us. Now, Sister Zuri,
thank you for having me.
Let's get to it. So now, you said that you lost over 100 pounds. And how long was this process?
This is the thing when it comes to weight loss. Originally, when I decided to change my life, I dropped about 30, 40 pounds. Then, like when I first got with Tawee, I was about 250. And then I played, you'll drop and you'll gain back, you'll drop, you'll gain back. So it's been over a period of time, these past 8 years, to the point where now I'm down and I stay down. And going through the process of understanding me and my chaos that I caused, because the first thing you want to do is blame everybody. And every time I want to blame somebody, I gain 20 pounds right back. Mm. And so then once I started being more accountable for the things that I was causing, the 20 pounds I had lost stayed off. So it was a process. So within this 8 years period, about 8 years, like I said, I'm down 105 pounds actually, because 104, I'm sorry, total. When I just got married last year, I was 220, and I had dropped all the way down to 187 and went right back up to 220. And then I was like, this is this, and it comes from emotion, because I learned that I was an emotional eater. Mm. And once again, you got to understand you and stop making excuses for me. Like, just because I got a problem with me, I got to do this. And I learned that was my issue.
Mm. So your whole journey was like a self-mastery curriculum. I mean, you got something that girl, you going, if you ain't got an ebook, you holler at your brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put an ebook and put an e-course together, because
these are things that I learned.
Huh?
These are the things I had to learn myself.
Right. And that was, I mean, and like you said, that's a process. So you set up a process for yourself where you are able to stay within a neighborhood of weight that you want to stay in, because you know yourself and you know your responses, and because you recognize them, you know what I'm saying, you're able to kind of head the issue off. That's a powerful piece. Now, what other type of growth start happening in your life once you start figuring this out?
Oh man, you will not believe, because I told you I was going through this issue where I walked away from everything. I walked away. I gave up my job that I had for 10 years. I gave up that raggedy husband that I had. I gave up my house. I gave up my car. I gave up everything and had to start from scratch. And starting from scratch taught me how to appreciate it. And then I learned more. And again, I was emotional. And not though we emotionally eat, we emotionally buy dumb stuff. So I also started my own business because, I hated going to work every day. I hated it with a passion. When I learned, you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day? That's what my life That's what my life felt like. You wake up to the same thing every single day. And I was just ready to jump off a bridge. So I had to learn, and but this is what we're taught, that we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to just jump in, go get married, go get a job, go to school. You never taught to learn yourself. And then not only not taught to learn yourself, but I love my mom. I didn't really know my dad too much, but he's my dad. I love him. But you don't realize excuse my French elders, but they fuck you up and throw you to the wolves because of whatever they whatever they went through, whatever their belief system was, everything like you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you can't eat that, you can't do that. You once you throw that away, you be like, wait a minute, who am I? What am I? And you cause all this chaos within yourself. So I learned my business. I started from scratch. And now I'm to the point where now I'm ready to get me a building after this so-called pandemic, which I have not allowed that to control my life, because I'm not going to live like this for the rest of I'm not doing this. I got another 40, 50 years on this planet. And you think I'm about to do this? Let me do my best to take care of myself. So because a box does not control my mind. So I learned how to control my mind so I don't live in that fear. And that's the thing. I'm not going to live like this for the rest of I'm not doing this. I got another 40, 50 years on this.
Somebody, you got a listener in the house.
I know. It threw me off.
All right.
Yeah, it threw me off. So I learned, I dropped weight. I got a better, I have my own business. I learned how to, even when it comes to my son, I hated school, because I was, again, everybody want to give you a diagnosis. I was diagnosed with, now I can't even think of it.
What kind of business you got?
I got hair business. Mm-hmm. Oh, I know, but I don't know. Hold on there. Oh my goodness. I forgot it right now. My mind threw off. But within my business, I'm a massage therapist. I'm also a loctician, but my goal is to have a wellness center where you can come in and, learn about yourself. There's so many different aspects of wellness. It's not just food. It's mental, because I want to be fed mentally. And I learned, I did learn that. I learned how dumb we're taught to be dumb, but then you make yourself smart. And, I'm learning so much. Again, I learned a lot of my history that I did not know. And I could not believe. I'm learning more symbols. I'm understanding colors. I'm understanding verbiage. These are the things I didn't know before. Right now, see, I don't even claim that name. I can't think about what it is.
It ain't ADHD, is it?
No, it's not.
Dyslexic?
Oh, dyslexia.
Dyslexic. See, look, I don't even claim it, but I was diagnosed with that. I was never thought I could ever do nothing because considered to be slow, or you see things differently, or you can't read. I learned how to overcome these things. So I can say that's what I learned.
Last question, because you said something very, very interesting. You said that in order for you to change, you had to sacrifice everything that, in a sense, may have been connected to who you thought you were.
Exactly.
Was that a very lonely period for a while?
Very. Yes.
So what advice would you give somebody that might be at that phase of their life right now where they're trying, like you said, like you woke up one day and you said you're going to do something different, and it led all the way to that? What word of encouragement would you give somebody that might be in that position right now? Because we know somebody out there, because this what you're talking about right now is directly for somebody out there that's in a place where you were. What would you say to them?
I had to learn Well, I had to learn to move out of my own way and accept responsibility. That was, and be okay. It was okay to be by myself. I needed to be by myself. I had to be by myself. The only people was there was my kids, and kids being kid worlds. But I had to learn to be with being by myself because you're taught that you can't be by yourself. And I had to learn to be okay with that. And I wrote everything down that I wanted.
So you kept a journal?
I kept a journal, but I wrote literally everything I wrote down has come true, all the way down to my husband. Everything about him, I wrote down. Everything I wanted
Prior to.
I wrote down. I wrote down what exactly I wanted, and I wasn't settling for none of that, and it manifested. But I had to be okay with being by myself first.
Powerful.
And
You got any last words for the family?
one, I would say, learn to accept responsibility. Be okay with being by yourself. And health and wellness is a new pandemic. Understand you and control you and your body.
And with that, family, we are out. All right, so family, we will see